Hey Andy, wow, it's been a while. How are you? Hello and welcome to A Moment in Time with Taylor. It has been a while since I've been live on YouTube, so I'm a little rusty here, and I'm having a lot of microphone difficulties right now and having trouble pinning down my little audio tech friend to help me. So I'm using this for a microphone, even though I really wanted you guys to see my super cute video game controller earrings. Um, but that's not what you're here for. Anyway, you want the information on the book review, I hope, because that's what I'm here to talk about today. The book that we are doing a review on today is Give and Take by Adam Grant. If you don't know me, I go live every single day. I have been live every single day since January 5th, 2017, and I go live on a lot of different places with a lot of different kinds of content. This is my first YouTube live from my new studio. I moved to Florida about 2 months ago, and I still haven't done virtually anything with this room besides lay down the juice mat there with all the little juicies, and I have my lamp, and I realize that the quality of this stream is pretty much trash, but I was done procrastinating this stream, and I am gonna procrastinate taking care of all that way longer. So here we are to do our best, and hopefully you can hear and see me okay. So the major takeaway of this book, and in terms of just overall take on this book, I would say I would give it like a 3 out of 5 stars. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was somewhere in the middle. It's mildly interesting, I suppose. It's called Give and Take by Adam Grant, A Revolutionary Approach to Success. And the main theme of the book is talking, basically putting people into categories of givers, takers, or matchers. And I think those definitions probably, or the names kind of shows you the definition without me having to expand on that too much. But just in case you can't reason what that might mean, a giver is someone who gives more than they take. A taker is someone who takes more than they give. And then a matcher is someone who tries to give and take about an even amount. And what I thought was interesting is that, according to whatever study he cited in this book, he said that the givers are at the bottom of the success ladder. And I thought that wasn't too surprising to me, to think that people who are kind of giving more than they're getting are probably not going to be very successful, because they're kind of going to always be in this deficit, right? They're giving, so then they aren't, and they're not taking, so therefore they're not going to have a whole lot at the end of the day. But what was interesting is he said that not only are they at the bottom of the ladder of success, however they measure that in the book, it's not coming to me right now. Hi, Ed. But they're also at the top. They're also the most successful people. And that really piqued my interest. And I like how he puts this on one of the pages that I actually just shared on my TikTok. If you want to go check it out, I put a little TikTok slash Instagram reel where I read about this. And the concept is that takers are selfish, they're worried about themselves, and failed givers are selfless, which means they actually sacrifice themselves for others. So they put others above themselves to the point that they end up losing. And that the successful givers are other-ish, so they do care about others, but they also care about themselves. So it's like this nice happy medium. And he quotes Bill Gates in that little paragraph that I shared on my TikTok and Instagram as well. And you can also obviously check the book out for yourself, where Bill Gates says that there are two powerful driving forces in humanity, and one is altruism and one is selfishness, and kind of finding this balance between those two opposing forces, and being otherish, which I like. That vibes with my philosophy as well. So, in order to be a successful giver, you want to be reasonable and maybe even strategic with your giving, right? You don't want there's this fine line between being a successful giver and then just being a matcher, right? So you're not always giving with this idea of what am I going to get in exchange. It's not this tit for tat, I give you one, you give me one kind of mentality. It's more about not wasting your time, your resources, your money. Because remember, it's not just about giving money to people or places or things. It could be giving time. It could be giving energy, giving labor, giving work, giving gratitude, giving laughter. I kind of made like a little list of different things that you could give. Giving credit where it's due. That's a really, really important thing. They find like a lot of takers take all the credit for themselves and they can burn a lot of bridges that way. And they talk about the power of networking. For givers, givers have this great time in networking because everybody likes them because they always are giving. Excuse me one second. I have a cough and I need to mute. Excuse me. Um, so they're pretty popular. They're pretty well liked. People are happy to try to help them out when they get the chance. Takers have a terrible time networking. Once somebody gets scammed or swindled or, tricked or whatever you want to call it by a taker, somebody who's just out to get what they can get and not at all give any kind of return, people aren't going to want to work with them again. And we live in the world of social media these days where word can spread very quickly if you are a scammer or a swindler or a cheater or whatever it may be, where you just are not to be trusted and to be worked with. So that power of word of mouth, which has always been powerful throughout business, all through humanity, is now even more powerful because of the internet and how quickly that word can spread. If you're familiar with the Tinder swindler, using media and widespread media was pretty much the main way they were able to locate this guy and find him because they were able to communicate with so many people from all around the world so easily. So just just don't be a taker. It'd be way easier to just not be a taker. At least be a matcher, okay? At least try to give it at least as much as you're getting. But if you can push yourself even beyond that to always be trying to give more, you'd be surprised what you might receive back. And you're not doing it for what you receive back, but you have to be smart with it. You have to know that there's a limit. You have to have boundaries. You can't just sacrifice yourself for other people all the time because eventually that will bring you to a point where you can't give anything anymore. And now you're the one in need. So you got to be wise, and I think a lot of this comes from experience. My guess would be that the most successful givers are probably a little bit older. They've kind of learned and tried a few different things. But if you're young and you're watching this, don't reinvent the wheel, okay? Just take our word for it. Other things that you can give attention to someone. You can listen to them, give them your time, give them your attention. Don't be on your phone. Give them what so many people are so hungry and thirsty and desperate for attention. And they just want someone to just give them a little attention. When you're walking down the street, don't avoid eye contact. Make eye contact, say hi, give someone a little attention, give them a little compliment. Oh, I like your shirt. What, is that going to hurt you really? Giving compliments is another thing you can give. It doesn't always have to be financial, right? It doesn't have to be all about business. You're giving love. You can give a smile. Give by holding the door open for someone or asking someone if you can help them with something. Giving acts of service. Giving patience. Be patient with people. Give them time. Give forgiveness. Give effort. Like putting your back into it, giving that little extra elbow grease. Give empathy, and then just generally I just wrote like give positivity, and you can watch some of my other videos. I'm kind of obsessed with positive psychology and all the different ways you can spread positivity and focus on positivity in your own life, but also you can amplify that and give it out to others. And a lot of times when you give to others without expecting anything in return, it comes back to you tenfold. And it's not this tit for tat tennis match. It's not like I gave you $5 and then you gave me $5 the following week. You can give someone $5 and then get $500 from a completely separate source. And maybe it's related, maybe there's some kind of karmic connection. Maybe what goes around comes around. I don't know. I'm not here to push any kind of spiritual beliefs on you, but in my experience it does seem to work out this way. When I'm more generous with anything, with my money, with my time, with my love, I feel like I get it back so much more from all different sources. It's pretty rare that I give to someone in need and then that person gives back to me more than I gave to them. Maybe just, making me feel good about myself or something. But like if I help somebody out, chances are pretty slim that that person is then going to help me out in the future. It's possible, of course, and it happens, but that's not why you do it. But generally, like if you're just helpful in general and you help other people, then if there's somebody even above you who can help you out, it's kind of more likely, you get that reputation about you for being generous, for being kind, for being loving, for being positive, for being friendly, for being open. There's so many things that you can give people that don't have to be financial, and other people will give to you, maybe financially, maybe otherwise, when they see that you're a giver too, and they know that it's not going to be wasted on you. They know they're not going to give you something to help you out, and then you're just going to squander it and waste it and ignore it and take it for granted. You're going to use that and you're going to help other people with it. So by giving to you, they know they're giving to others as well. And that's the kind of person you want to be seen as. You want to be like this investment, not this like sinkhole where like people try to help you out and give you stuff and it just like goes into this abyss. They want to see that grow into this beautiful garden and see how that can impact other people. I mean, that's how I like to give. I like to give in a way that I know that it's going to have the best, biggest impact and most efficient impact possible. Oh, hi Maddie, how are you? Hi Mikey, how are you doing? um Another thing they talk about is potential. Sorry, you may have heard of this study that they've done before where they take teachers and students and they have the teachers identify the students with the most potential, and then they see if the teachers are correct in who they picked as having the most potential at the beginning of the school year. And they found that they're pretty accurate. They say this person has a lot of potential, and then that person does tend to outperform the other people in the class. But what they also found was that when a teacher identified someone as having potential, they spent more time with that person. They gave that person more attention, more encouragement, more support, more resources, more tools, more effort, more time, all these things we talked about. So then they said, well, let's test this. Instead of having the teachers identify who has potential, let's randomly pick students out of pure random selection out of a class and just say, these are the students that we have identified with our metrics, even though that wasn't true, as being the students in your class that have the most potential, and see what happens. And it was the same outcome. Just by the teachers believing that those people had some kind of superior special potential, those students had better outcomes and results than they would have otherwise. So you could use this in your life by just choosing to believe that people have potential, not based on metrics, not based on intelligence, not based on history or anything, but just believe that any person that you are in front of has potential and treat them as such. See people as all having potential. Don't write people off. Don't just assume that history repeats itself and habits are impossible to break or change, and that once a failure always a failure. You wouldn't want someone to view you that way, even if you were in a really dark, think about the darkest, lowest point in your life. Think of everyone just gave up on you and no one believed in you at all. Maybe that is your situation. Maybe you were able to come out of it on your own. But how much quicker and better would it have been for you if someone believed that you had potential and viewed you that way and encouraged you and shared that belief with you that, hey, I can see that you have a lot of potential, and they helped you in some way and they helped you to realize that potential, or even just telling you they see potential in you can really, it can light that fire. I've noticed this. I've done this with people in my life, not because of this book, but it makes me want to do it even more. When I think I recognize potential in someone, I do usually tend to tell them, and then I usually feel like they do really well. And who knows if it's because I said I saw potential in them or not, but it certainly didn't hurt. Like, what really cost and risk is it to you if you believe that someone has potential and you tell them, I know you have potential? There's no risk there. There's nothing you can't lose. So you might as well give it a shot. They talked about something that I should have looked up the psychological term for this, but it's basically this belief, and not this belief, but like the way that we view people who are not perfect. We actually like imperfect people way better than seemingly perfect people because we resonate with that. We go, okay, it's okay that I'm not perfect. They're not perfect either, but look at what they're doing. So be okay with being vulnerable. Be okay with calling out the elephant in the room and just pointing out your weakness, or your, if you have like this unique thing that comes across to people on the first impression, don't act like it's not there. Let's say you have autism, right? Or let's say you're on the autism spectrum. I don't know the politically correct way to say this, but let's say you're on the spectrum and you know that social skills are a weakness of yours. Rather than just spend all your time trying to act like that's not the case and trying to compensate and learn and train, I think social skills training is very important to do. And I still suggest that you do that and work on all of your skills and always be trying to get better, but also letting people know I'm on the spectrum and sometimes I'm a little awkward. Sometimes I'm kind of weird. So just be ready for that. That immediately disarms them and they feel like, okay, cool. This person isn't trying to be perfect. This person's not putting on this fake show for me. They're not going to try to be anything other than themselves, and now I can be more myself, and now I'm more tied in. And when I see them do well and I say, oh, you made a funny joke, you made a lot of eye contact, you're laughing appropriately, like, you seem to be socializing great. It's like you respect and admire that person so much more when you know that they're pushing past something that's a struggle. So not only is that just interesting to know for psychological purposes in your life, but also you can use that. Don't be afraid to say, like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I barely slept last night, so I know I look kind of crazy right now, but just roll with it here. Give me a break, okay? We're gonna get through this together. It makes people feel okay. They can sit back and relax a little bit and say, all right, cool. Like, yeah, I slept like crap last night too, or yeah, I have my stuff too, that I'm not in this perfect state today either. And we can all just kind of laugh at that's another thing, laugh at yourself. My mom taught me that. Thank you, mom. I love you so much. It's one of my favorite lessons my mom ever taught me. Two of my favorite things. One is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I struggle with that one. I'm still got to work on that. And two is learn to laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't get overly upset and defensive if you make a mistake or if you trip or drop something or someone criticizes you. It's okay. Or you stutter, you stumble over something you say. Because actually, especially with what we just were talking about now, people like that. It makes them feel like they don't have to walk on eggshells around you. You can laugh at yourself, so they can laugh at you too, and we don't have to all pretend like my hair isn't a mess. I went and got my hair done yesterday, and I walked into the hair salon and I had not even brushed my hair. And it was in a messy bun, and I said, listen, I had kind of a weird morning. I didn't want to be late, so I didn't brush my hair, and here I am. And she was just like, whatever, brush my hair. I'm sure she might have had some judgments on me or something, but rather than just don't mention it. Just go in and act like everything's fine and act confused when she's like, "What the heck? Why is your hair like a mess?" Just kind of air it out. Air your dirty laundry, and you'd be surprised how much people will just welcome you with open arms. People are a lot less judgmental than you might think. They're more likely to judge you more harshly if you act like those flaws and weaknesses and things about you don't exist. So just be honest. I didn't take a shower today. If I stink, just let me know. I'll go grab some deodorant. Like, whatever it is. By the way, I did take a shower today, but I don't take a shower every day. Anyway, um, there's a great speaker. She does some TED Talks, and she's just like a pretty well-known researcher in the area of vulnerability, known as Brene Brown. Let me type it into the comments here. There's an accent on her first name, but if you just Google that, you'll find her pretty easily. So if you're interested in this subject and learning more about the science behind it and the research behind it, definitely check her out. Brene Brown, Brene, last name Brown, just like the color. All right. I had a good example of this. So he talks about people with stutters actually being like generally more liked because they have a stutter, and people kind of like they respect that the person tries to work past the stutter and not just be silent. And I recently watched a show. It's kind of a new show. Let me know if you've seen it. It's called Beyond the Edge. It's on CBS, I believe, right after Survivor. And it was a bunch of celebrities. It was like this whole challenge. I don't need to get into the premise of the show, but they did have Ray Lewis on that show, who's kind of like this NFL legend. And he apparently, when he was a child, had such difficulty speaking and such a powerful stutter that he basically didn't speak. He struggled to communicate basic concepts. And now he's a great speaker. He is motivational. He is powerful. He's empathetic. I just love this guy. Like, he was probably my favorite person in the whole cast. This guy is amazing. And there's probably a pretty good chance that part of why I like him so much is because he shared his story about the stutter and about how he was abused and how that's when the stutter started, and how his mom was abused, and some of his like really dark past. And then you see, but he used that as fuel, and he didn't let it stop him from being able to speak. He didn't let it stop him from being able to become famous and wealthy and an NFL superstar. I mean, that if that doesn't give you respect and admiration, nothing else will. So don't be afraid to share your past and your darkness and where you've come from, even if you're working so hard to get away from all of that. That's okay. Just by talking about it isn't going to bring you back there. And it's going to let people know, like, really where you came from and how much more impressive your success currently in your life is, considering how many of those odds were kind of stacked against you. People have respect for people who deal with the hand that they're dealt, not in denial, but just facing it. And then the last thing that I thought was pretty interesting with this, I'm going to read right out of the book for this one. It's on page 144 if you have your book with you and you want to read along. And this is tentative talk. So I'm a little torn on this concept, but let me read it to you first and then you can decide, and then I'll tell you what I think and you can decide for yourself. So takers tend to use powerful speech. They're assertive and direct. Givers tend to use more powerless speech, talking with tentative markers like these. And there's 5 different types. One is hesitations. Words like, well, um, uh, you know. 2 is hedges. Words like kinda, sorta, maybe, probably, I think. It's not super confident. It's not as assertive. It's open-ended. You're leaving yourself a little you're hedging, your bet. You're like leaving room for you to be wrong. And you're avoiding extreme talk. Number 3, disclaimers. Something along the lines of, this might be a bad idea, but hear me out, and you present it. Because you're kind of saying, hey, you might hate this, but let me just put it out there and then you decide for yourself. Kind of like what I'm saying. I actually just used a disclaimer before reading this myself. Number 4, tag questions. Something like, that's interesting, isn't it? Or that's a good idea, right? It's like you're looking for confirmation and affirmation from the person rather than just saying, that's a good idea. I nailed this. I could work on this. Sometimes I think it's funny to be very overly confident. It's like, to me, it's a form of humor, but I think people might think I'm serious a lot of the time, and sometimes I am. So maybe I could work on that one myself. I don't always look for others for validation, which I think is good and bad. And he talks about that in this book too. Of course, there are times where you want to be very direct, very assertive, very confident, and use powerful speech. There's lots of great opportunities for that. But realizing the power of tentative talk like this as well. And number 5 is intensifiers, saying really or very, using words to kind of enhance your ideas. So I like that he talks about the power of powerless speech, because usually in a lot of these like self-help books and things that I read, a great example is Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, where she talks about women in the workplace and getting, there's another book called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office, etc., where they talk about the importance for women in particular to be confident, to be assertive, to be bold, to be direct, to be powerful and use powerful speech. So I think that it's important to explore lots of different ideas, because you can take little bits from everybody. Because this guy not only is a man himself, but a lot of the examples that he uses are men. men in business, successful businessmen. And for men, it may be more beneficial for them to use tentative talk because they don't want to come across too arrogant or overly confident or anything. Whereas women tend to use tentative talk naturally more than men. So telling them to do it more might actually backfire, might not be great advice. But just kind of realizing that it's okay to use those kinds of things. And I use that a lot. Like people are more receptive to ideas that are presented to them in a tentative way. When you come across like, this is it, this is the best thing ever, people kind of shy away from that. They're like, okay, well, there's no room for a conversation here. There's no room for their opinion or their input or their modifications or their ideas. It's all about you just being right. You don't need to go out trying to prove yourself right. If you really want someone to be open to your idea, you have to go in a little bit softer sometimes, right? So that is my review on Adam Grant's book, Give and Take, A Revolutionary Approach to Success. I think the word revolutionary is a bit strong, but I did find some interesting little takeaways there, which I've shared with you here. If you don't know me, sorry, I'm reading comments. Oh yeah, this is a recycled shirt. This shirt is made of old, like cut up strips of fabric and plastic bottles. Pretty cool, right? I think. And it was only $10, and it was from a store called Ardene, Ardene, which I believe is a lot bigger in Canada than America, but hopefully we'll see more of them come around America because there was one in New Jersey where I lived, and now I'm in Florida, and there's none here. But anyway, I got distracted by chat. But I love to do this live, so thank you for commenting. And if you want to check out my other book reviews, you can catch that here on YouTube. I was definitely saying something else. I also send out emails. If you go to my website, nextjuice.com, it's just my username.com, you can sign up for my email list, and I'll send out book reviews couple times a year. I don't flood your inbox by any means. It'll be like every few months you'll get some book reviews. You might get updates on me and my channel, kind of where I'm at as well, just kind of updates on that. So you can sign up for that as well. I do have a Goodreads page with the same username if you want to see some of the other books that I've read. And I like to read books so that you don't have to, because I know reading books is a little bit archaic for a lot of people. But I do think it's so, so powerful. It helps you to stand on the shoulders of giants, learn from people who have already figured out a lot of this stuff so you don't have to recreate the wheel and reinvent everything from scratch. You don't have to figure all this stuff out on your own. Take from other people's research and other people's experience and learn from them so that you can then take it to that next level. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you don't know me, I go live every single day. I have been live every day for over 5 years straight. I go live on a lot of different places with a lot of different types of content, so feel free to check out all my other pages. I stream mostly right now on TikTok and Twitch, as well as my other page, but I do have another book review coming to you guys on here pretty soon, hopefully. This is To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink, and the book I'm reading right now is by Brianna Weist, and it's called 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. So stay tuned for more book reviews, and if you'd like to check out my other pages, I will see you guys over there. This has been A Moment in Time with Taylor. I love you. You are worthy of being loved and feeling comfortable in your own skin. Expre medium. Squeeze the day. See you guys later. Bye. Sorry, I just had to do some moderating here. Good night.